No, this is not an Uma Musume video. This is a Sakamoto Days Part 2 video. We checked out the trailer, and the trailer genuinely looked pretty good. If you don't know, we made a reaction about this a couple days ago. Or was it yesterday? Jesus Christ, I upload too many videos. Where is it? Sakamoto Days, Sakamoto Days, Sakamoto Days, Sakamoto Days. Where's Sakamoto Days? Where is it? Right over here. 5.1k views. For a Sakamoto Days content, that's actually pretty good because I think a lot of hype died down after people realized that this is not what it lived up to be. But am I coping? A lot of people are saying animation skyrocketed as much as the story, right? It's improved a lot. On everybody's soul, it's gonna be peak. Looks pretty cool, to be honest. Never understood why people hate animation. I think it's because it didn't live up to like the hype that was set by the manga and stuff like that. But a lot of people are very hopeful about it. Let's see what Shinji has to say.
You want to learn something about Uma Musume?
What?
Sakamoto Days Core
What do we learn about Momosume?
2.
Is this your favorite Uma Musume character? Where's her tail? Now her tail's down here. I'm like, what am I looking at? You trying to tell me that she doesn't have a tail? It's pretty cute.
Sakamoto Days Core 2. Oh wait, it's part 2. At first I was not even gonna talk about this trailer that came out, but there's actually some really good things about this and how it looks different. Not just talk.
Yo, that GG is looking so hype. I was just going off about how cool this, GG Samurai was in season 1 opening, but he never showed up to play. So finally, maybe he showed up to play.
It looks different. Not just talking about the movement. People were pretty disappointed about part 1, not really reaching that expectation that the manga set for the fans. The animation was lacking, the boards were pretty basic, action direction was good, making limited moments hit more, but that really didn't save it for the most part. Although I still would give it a 9 out of 10.
Oh,
wait.
6 out of 10.
There we go. A new trailer.
6 out of 10 for part 1? That's a pretty harsh rating. Not 7? 6.5. Was it that bad? Was it that bad? You're a manga reader? Okay, all right. If it's a manga reader criticism, then we gotta do a +1 by default, right? So naturally it will be a 7 out of 10, but we gotta do a -1 for that because manga reader. 7.5? I don't know 7.5. I think it's in that like 6.5 to 7.5 territory though. It's within that range, maybe.
Trailer for part 2 dropped and I'm surprised. While I still don't think it will reach the expectation of the manga, but it definitely looks better to part 1 visually. And
or we're being catfished. These are just, out of context Sakuga scenes that are linked together to catfish us, thinking that like, oh my god, it's saved. I don't know, we'll see.
There's good looking cuts in this trailer, better than anything part 1 probably. The old man drawing his sword looks crazy, and the drawing quality looks good. Another thing that was not utilized much in part 1 was the CG backgrounds. Yes, there was some CG usage, but it was very minimal, although right now we can't really see the full picture. Part 2 looks like they're gonna use quite a bit of it for the major fights.
Got it.
Especially
like all the different construction beams, the background stuff like that, right? The CG background art.
A bit of it for the major fights, especially this one. So I'm glad to see that. The staff is obviously not different. The director, art director, compositing artist, character designer, color designer is the same. Nothing is different. It's obvious that this is just a core 2, but split to give it more time. It's nothing new. Of course, a downside about Netflix animes is that they have to finish it like 1 month prior, around that, before it airs, because they're gonna English dub it right off the bat before it airs. Overall animation, there's definitely some highlights in the trailer alone. Of course, you want to put all the good shit in the trailer.
Sakamoto!
Or you can be like Blue Lock U20. Already some of the...
That was crazy. I have no clue why they did that. A trailer is supposed to be hype. You want to show just the best of the best to catfish the audience into thinking it's going to be good. And the U20 arc was like, nah, watch these PowerPoint cuts, bro.
Already some of the cuts just look better than part 1. I am a manga reader, but I'm not caught up to where part 2 is gonna fully adapt it. Some of the stuff like Sakamoto vs. Slur, I haven't read to that point, but this part is gonna be more large scale, more ambitious in a way. So yes, they might have prioritized this core more. Because
like
of how...
Sorry, I think I skipped ahead. Yeah, I think that the stage has been set since part 1 because now you have the core group of people, right? You know who the gang is, right? We got Shin, we got Sakamoto, we got mom and daughter, but we also got, that's the Chinese girl. I keep forgetting these names. We got, Pisuke, right? And a bunch more. And now that like the roster of character, Lou, now that the roster of characters has been formed, and not just within our convenience store, but like outside of it, there's some helpers, right? Like even that assassination squad that's supposed to come after us, but because Sakamoto is like a veteran from that, we got the lady with like the chainsaw stuff, right? The guy, it's looking really hype. And then the villains gets introduced, and now they're getting glazed to the next level. Not only was Slur already set up, but now you got these extra villains, the ones that we saw at the finale of part 1. It's really setting the stage for something big to happen. So I guess this is where all the crazy shit happens. Like, this is why people are saying, bro, you don't even know Sakamoto Days until you've seen chapter blah, 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 right? I feel like this is that story where it's going to go beyond.
More ambitious in a way. So yes, they might have prioritized this core more compared to part 1 just because of the content it's covering. So what does it look better?
All the scenes had a lot of frames and animation. Sakuga moments. What about the style? What about the visual filter? What about the color palette?
I don't know. Yes, Sakamoto Days can attract talent because of how popular the manga is, but part 1 only had 2-3 action directors and a couple of effects animation directors to do the bulk of it. Animation producer for Sakamoto Days, Genki Ito, doesn't really have that much connections. I mean, he was Annie P for Fruit Basket, but there wasn't really anyone on that show. People do underestimate the Annie P because that is one of the most important pieces for a production. They are the ones that picks out the staff, like directors and shit.
Probably the most important if you're the one collecting all these talents that's gonna execute the project.
I don't think part 1 is gonna have a better schedule. Usually part 2 or core 2 gets the end of the stick, like My Hero Season 6, Blue Lock Season 1, a lot more. And just recently too, Soul Leveling, although core 2 or season 2 had a lot more highs, but it had more lows compared to season 1.
Core 2 by natural falling off. A-rank party? A-rank party? It fell off low-key, right? I think that's more of pacing and like the actual story being told, and that was kind of boring. Is that an issue with the production, or is it an issue with the story? Maybe these things aren't mutually exclusive, right? What else is there? Apothecary Diaries is on core 2 right now. It's had a delay. They announced that shit 2 to 3 weeks ago. I don't know what the delay was actually about. Maybe there was some sort of unforeseen event happening and it's actually not production issues. What else is there? Dandadan is about to show up. Hopefully it's going to do really well. Any other anime that we're watching that's in core 2 right now that's kind of like falling off? I can't really think on the top of my head.
Because of the schedule was tighter. Tighter than your mom's thing was for Dandadan season 2. Season 2.
Let's go see that Pikachu. I saw it.
Was tighter than your mom's.
Yeah, there it is. I know that one. It's the creepy Pikachu, bro. The tongue goes crazy.
Thing was for Dandadan season 2. Season 2 now has 2 directors compared to season 1 only having Fuga Yamashiro. Season 2 added Abela Gongora.
Oh, what? Non-Japanese director? That's cool to see.
An in-house staff for Sign Sorrow, who directed Scott Pilgrim and did some key animation work in Dandadan.
In-house, huh? Okay.
Directed the Dandadan opening. And yes, if you're wondering, he's from Spain.
Yeah.
Barcelona. So there's maybe an indication that season 2 might have a tighter schedule. We already saw that the second half of season 1 is inferior compared to the first half. And also maybe a major part of that is Masaki Yuasa leaving and making another studio just recently.
Oh, what? Iconic mind game Inua director Masaki Yuasa launches new Tokyo studio Ame Pippin exclusive. Step down in 2020. Assigned Saru. So you want to take a break from directing. Later form a new studio. Wait, what is this logic? I am gonna step down because I am tired of directing. And now I'm going to make another company and direct over there instead. I feel like the excuse of taking break from directing is a very PR move that doesn't really encompass what actually happened behind the scenes. You know what I mean?
Like a Yuasa leaving and making another studio just recently. So maybe the practices are a bit different. Of course, these are the same as Sakamoto Days, where they are just glorified two-cored one-season anime because they are producing it at the same time. Like season 1 finished, then straight away to season 2. That's why season 3 of Soul Leveling, there's
Takes
a
so
big
long,
delay.
man.
Or maybe they're hiding the fact that the director is working on another show.
Maybe, man. Yeah, Face Strange Fake. They're working on Face Strange Fake, guys. No, it's not the case. Like season 1 and season 2 basically could have been like two. Like already season 1 was 2 cores though, right? Yeah. So no. It was 12 episodes. It was 12 episodes. Soul Leveling season 1 was 12 episodes. So like straight up, like how Dandadan and Sakamoto Days did it. Obviously, just like a smaller gap. Soul Leveling took like a year gap, but it was from the beginning they were intending to do it. So it could have been announced as a 2-core season, but it's just had a ample break between season 1 ending, had plenty of time for season 2 and so on.
Somewhere else. And the fans busy comparing Soul Leveling and all of the mystery.
Oh, frames, brother. Oh my god, frames. Well, actually, the episode is 30 minutes long versus Solo Leveling, which is 24, so it's not fair to do a comparison. Actually, if we do a divided ratio of 1 minute per frame, you will see that Solo Leveling has 24 versus fucking Lord and Mystery at 30. Well, actually, these frames only talk about... It doesn't matter. Fucking, who cares, bro? More frame doesn't fucking mean better. I think a lot of the background art's probably gonna get cracked though, right? I think a lot of people are getting... They're probably gonna get their bar of expectations too high, thinking like, oh my god, it's gonna be so much movement. But what if it's just background art and different assets, you know, moving around to add in the frames? Anyways.
Frame count. Look at me, guys. I'm a retard. What? But the most important thing that mysteries frame count. Look at me, guys. I'm a retard. What? But the most important... All of the mysteries frame count. Look at me, guys. I'm a retard. What? But the most important thing that they quote-unquote remove or change to make it better is more on the compositing side. My biggest complaint for the anime...
The filter, right? Some sort of color overlay filter that kind of makes it look flat, gray.
Is the unnecessary texturing work. Not just art direction, that's a different case, but also in the characters. Like, this is not a case of scheduling issues. If you remove these textures, it will be better.
Yeah, it's like an intentional choice from the whoever's, you know, behind the texturing.
It is a choice. It looks a bit too much and not appealing in a way. It's a less cleaner way compared to how anime...
Oh my god, man. Look at the Uma Musume, bro. Look how it just pops out. Also, shout outs to Free Random Fern.
Do shading and coloring such. It's a lot in the coloring department, not the actual coloring part, with having gradients and these weird shading that has like blurred edges in a way. I don't know if they just use another brush to like make the color softer or something, I don't know. That also goes to the uniforms. Osaragi's dress is the worst example at that, and it's even worse in the darker setting.
Let's look at her dress. Yeah, what the hell is happening here, bro? I see some foliage here, but it's so hard to make up. There's different tones, right? More black here, more lighter, but I don't know, bro. I just don't know about this shit. And then his suit's kind of awkward. Something about the shading, the color, the textures, it felt like there was some sort of like weird fog. I don't know how to describe it, but like there's some sort of like... If you have a camera and the camera lens gets fogged up, you know how it looks blurry? Probably not a good analogy. But I'm trying to say there feels like there's some sort of overlay placed on it where I look at it, it looks flat, it looks uninspiring, it doesn't pop out to me like the Uma Musume we just saw.
Is the worst example at that, and it's even worse in the darker setting.
Yeah.
It's more visible. Same goes with the texturing work for objects like this shitty ass T-Rex skeleton and weapons. I mean, what the fuck was this T-Rex, man? Again, they go heavy with the textures that becomes overbearing. Like, these textures belongs to the stuff that don't move. So if you apply that to stuff that is actually moving, then that's just straight up
awkward
eye infection. But for part 2, they changed...
I didn't know how to describe the dinosaur fight. I thought that this fight was very mid because obviously the stakes weren't very high, but something also was kind of bothering me. And I just didn't know how to put it into words, but that's it, bro. It's the texturing, right? Look at this gradient. Like, look at the skeleton stuff, right? In this example with the hammer, it's static. But when you have the dinosaur, which is constantly moving like that on top of it, the gradient or this texturing kind of looks off. It looks even worse.
Moving, then that's just straight up eye infection. But for part 2, they change up the aesthetic approach a lot. in a good way to make things visually pleasing while not adding too much. I feel like they
Does that mean they listen to criticisms? Why would they just do that now? Maybe they heard of all the complaints online. Not from the Western side, but maybe domestically in Japan, people are complaining about it too. I don't know.
adding too much. I feel like there's just the original color design for the characters without the overbearing textures. It's cleaner and softer. The shading and colors are simpler in a way if you compare the shading side by side. Part 2 are again the norm for anime usually. It's definitely a bit more saturated, and the positive is that you can appreciate the drawing quality more because the comp is helping it too. If you just put some of the characters side by side, clearly see the difference on how part 2 makes things less processed compared to part 1. That leads to a cleaner visual aesthetic. The more softer color palette, the unnecessary texture work is removed, and everything else. I kind of get what they were trying to do, but at the same time,
they just didn't execute the strategy very well, right? Yeah, all the part 2 comparisons, right? It's just like easier on the eyes. To the untrained eye, maybe you can't really tell apart the differences, but I feel like a lot of people just kind of looking at the shit in a glance, something about the right hand side just seems to like call out more, right?
At the same time, it really didn't work in my opinion. Osaragi's Saw is way better in part 2. They still play around with heavy lighting for some scenes and it looks good. There's no complaints for me. It creates this tenseness, is that even a word, in the environment. Overall, judging from the trailer, there's more stuff that's set in a more darker setting, and from the looks of things, it's cleaner, doesn't disrupt the overall aesthetic of it. I know some people just look at the animation or movement being the most important shit ever. It is, but if you don't have good storyboards, action direction, or just direction overall, then it will not have that same impact. Just look at...
Did you just include the Supercube movement and call out the lack of action direction here because of the over animation stuff?
Or just direction overall, then it will not have that same impact.
Yami Healer also put on blast right now, the Golem fight.
Just look at the last couple of episodes of Fire Force Season 3 right now.
Oh yeah, worse than Debate, right?
It has bursts of good animation, but overall it lacks competent direction like we used to have for previous seasons, and the boards are pretty basic. Although we can't really say much about part 2 right now, the trailer that they draw for us looks like it will be an improvement compared to part 1. I know the content is gas, so hopefully they can follow that up in the anime. I know this is a filler video, but I don't care. If you missed my last video, if I didn't unpublish it yet, I have a second channel for One Piece stuff.
Oh shit! Sinchi RTA. RTA? What does RTA stand for? Real Time Arena? React to anime? Okay, react to anime, got it.
There's some other stuff soon. So yeah, self-plug. If you guys like this video,
alright, give a like. If you didn't, leave a like. And that's pretty much it. Shoutouts to Sinchi for covering Sakamoto Days and giving us an understanding of why we think that it looks good, right? It's not just the crazy animation happening in the Sakuga moments, but I think the biggest takeaway is this over texture and compositing that has looked kind of off in part 1 that has seemingly been removed in part 2. Obviously, storyboarding and different like direction for the fight scenes are also important so that you're not just having, you know, quote unquote Supercube incident all over again. But this gives me hope that part 2 of Sakamoto Days, you know, it will live up to the manga's glory. Maybe not, but who knows? Maybe it'll do well. Please check out Sinchi's channel. Here's a link to the video. Apparently, he has a reaction channel as well. What's going on over here? Imagine trailers pre-animated. That would be fucked up. Yes! Yes! Good idea. Let this cook, right? I have hope. Like, I always say the same thing, right? You start a brand new channel, you gotta stain it with like an audience flavor. Stick to one thing only. Only do One Piece openings. You got Gear 5, you got Luffy there. And in a couple days, it's gonna hit. Fingers crossed, and in a couple days, it's gonna hit the algo, maybe 10K, maybe 20K. And then, only One Piece. Only One Piece, and boom. You're gonna already do better than any other fucking seasonal anime reaction channel that's struggling, just averaging fucking 50 views a video because they're just covering too much content. Anyways, I can't sub to this. Here's a link to the video. Don't sub. if you're not gonna watch, right? That pity subs are pointless, right? You need to have authentic fans. So don't just sub thinking you're gonna help out. You have to actually watch it too anyways. Bye-bye.